Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. Each week, host Bryan O'Rourke brings you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse for what matters most for your business in the age of exponential technologies.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Bryan O'Rourke. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 130 of the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Look, before we get started with our interview today, I wanted to mention that I will be in Miami at the IHRSA show June 22nd through 24th. I hope to see you there. It's going to be a great show. I get to do a round table with Nick from EverCommerce on Wednesday. And then in the afternoon Thursday, I do a presentation on Web 3.0 and what it means, the future of technology in health and fitness. So I hope to see you there. I also want to mention my thanks for all the notes and calls, texts from folks involved with the Wexer transaction. So our firm, Videri Ventures, represented Wexer in that transaction. A great transaction for a great company. And this is now the third transaction we've concluded in 6 months. We had the pleasure of representing VFP and Darren and Mario in their transaction with Daxco, and then also our portfolio company, Texty, which we sold in November, and all great deals. So thank you all for the accolades and congrats to everyone on that. So let's proceed with the interview. So Monique Nadeau is the founder of EatLove, and Monique is a very impressive lady. Attended Harvard University, for example. She was an investment banker, lived in Europe extensively. She's a bit of a polyglot, fluent in French, and just a very insightful woman. And we're focusing on her and her company, EatLove, which is a solution around nutrition. And it is a fantastic technology, and the way it's set up is very intriguing. It's being used in a number of club chains and in other channels as well. And Monique is going to get into that during our interview. So without further ado, let's welcome Monique to the pod. Listeners, thanks again for joining us. As I said in the intro, having Monique on because of her unique background, as I described, is really a pleasure. Monique, you're joining us from San Francisco today. How have you been?
I am well, Bryan. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. I always learn so much.
Oh, well, that's more on my part than yours. EatLove has been something I've been spending time, researching everything from your Instagram pages to your website and background on you. With your background, why did you start the company?
I started the company because of accumulation of all of my experience. So I'm a recovering investment banker. I spent 14 years in Europe and in Wall Street. I'm a mathematician by training. And I just, having looked at the policy space and healthcare, and then having really essential services like nutrition being affordable and accessible for millions of people, was just something that really inspired me, and I felt that there was the greatest need. And I'm not sure a lot of folks know this, but the number one reason when I was talking to recruiters in the military for not accepting applicants is actually obesity, and the challenges related to that. And then the number one reason that we find is cited by physicians for infertility is actually obesity. So when you think about, as a country, being able to defend ourselves and then also procreate, those are such basic requirements, and nutrition plays such a key role in that. So I felt like I wanted to be part of addressing some of those problems. And having worked in policy and worked on in banking, and then also now in digital health, I'm really attracted to trying to solve some of society's toughest problems. I don't ever pick the easy ones. Um, and it's been, it's been a ride ever since.
So tell the listeners, if you don't mind, I described a little bit in the intro. What is the platform? What does it do? I know it does a number of things largely around personalization, but what is so special about what you're doing with your platform?
Well, historically, you've had to choose between having something that is entirely personalized to you and then being able to actually deliver a service that's scalable. So you can go to a dietitian, a registered dietitian, or a qualified nutrition professional, and they can work one-on-one with you, and they'll say, okay, Bryan, this is what we're going to work on. What are your goals? And they can come up with a very tailored nutrition plan for you. But that's going to be for you, and that's going to take a lot of time. And then as soon as you walk out the door and you say, actually, I want to go work out tonight, I don't have time to do this, that, and the other, or I actually don't feel like eating that, those requirements kind of go out the window. And really, what we have found is that what you need is not so much meal recommendations or kind of meal planning or nutrition plans. What you really need is an operating system that's going to meet you where you are for the 200 decisions that we make every day around food and diet. And life is busy and it's changing and your needs change. And one day you might be eating on your own. Next day you might be preparing food for a family. And so the fundamental problem that I believe EatLove solves is making that food meets busy life that much more manageable and in a way that's going to actually help you to achieve your health and wellness goals.
Yeah, it's a very cool product, by the way. I've been spending time looking at it. And a part of this, which I found interesting, which I assume most people would understand what an algorithm does, but you built an algorithm driving a lot of these decision-making processes around personal needs and wants. You call Lena, correct? Could you tell the story behind the algorithm?
Sure. So it's actually many, many algorithms, and it's very large data sets. So for every meal recommendation that EatLove makes, we evaluate now no less than 5 million dietary factors in less than a second. So practically instantaneously. And the EatLove started, which we started with research grants in 2013. And then we spent 3 years in research and development. And now we have thousands of dietitians that use our platform that actually Lena learns from. And we consider them very much our tribe and influenced our platform and product along the way. So Lena was actually named after Lena Cooper, who as a former, as a fellow female entrepreneur, had co-founded the Academy back in, I think it was 1917, and really was the first, with her co-founder, face and operations of dietetics in the early 20th century. And so it was a nod to her. And then also Lena stands for Lifestyle Enhancing Nutrition Algorithm. And what we look at is a variety of personalization factors, anything from what do you like to eat? Do you have any allergies? What are your health goals? Up to 90 macro micronutrients. So we're really going in and looking at those nutrition prescriptions. But then we also look at things like, what are your preferences around food? Are you eating a lot of, are you eating a lot of meat? Are you vegetarian? Are you vegan? Are you, how do you feel about leftovers? You never thought people would have such strong views about leftovers.
That's interesting.
But they do, and who's eating with you? And so, and also food waste. I mean, much like Spotify will create a playlist for you, we will ask you a series of questions and we will create the perfect playlist of meals. And that may not just be meals you prepare at home. It may be restaurants that are in your community. It may be ready-made meals. And we're very focused on combining those ingredients intelligently, so we're minimizing for food waste. Because food waste is not only bad for the environment, it's also bad for your pocketbook. And the average American family throws away $2,700 worth of food a year. So we know that if we make it very practical for you and ways to get your own, other members of your family to contribute, there's something about eating together and preparing food together that's very special. That's like no other activity that data has shown time and time again. And so if EatLove can break that down and then allow you to sort of automate, delegate, and then have the time to celebrate that, people come for nutrition, but what we find, and when we ask them, why are you still here 3 years later? And sure, they're like, yes, I lost weight or I feel better, but also they're like, yeah, my kids are cooking now, or I'm more confident about being in the kitchen, or at the end of the week, there isn't any sad produce at the bottom of the refrigerator, and I feel really good about that. And it means that my grocery bills, are less expensive, especially at a time now where, the cost of food is become something that I think a lot of us are looking at.
Yeah, I did notice that you even had a post recently about keeping in mind budget, in the context of,
Wow.
and you wouldn't think of that in a traditional nutrition type app, but that's why I find what EatLove is doing is pretty different than anything I've seen to date. And by the way, the listeners know in the show notes, you're going to see links to all the apps and everything, as well as to Monique's profile, so you can learn more about her. But what have you found to be the challenges in building this concept and the technology and doing what you had to do to reach this point?
So I think there's been a lot of meta trends that have evolved over the last 7 years. Prior to starting EatLove, I worked in a very bipartisan capacity in healthcare, national healthcare policy. And it was shocking to me that 40% of what children eat in the United States is actually devoid of any nutritional benefit. And that's why I knew, like, I wanted to get involved and I wanted to be part of the solution, and I wanted to make evidence-based nutrition services and guidance that was affordable and accessible. And when you look at 60% of adults in the United States managing at least one chronic disease, that it becomes this idea that health and fitness should be, or healthcare and fitness should be some separate. What I've seen is there's been a real convergence, and I see in that a lot of opportunity. You have all of the technical kind of evolution, cloud computing, the fact that we can set up, servers really easy, the fact that we can actually calculate and have all of these very complex algorithms working simultaneously. A lot of that is really paved the way. And then in addition to that, you have online grocery. So EatLove is integrated with our grocery partners of Amazon, Instacart, and Walmart. So we cover, I think it's something like 92% of all US zip codes. Again, making sure that it's accessible for all. And I think that that's something, I think the data that's now available around nutrition, if you have more than 20 restaurant locations in the United States, you have to publish your nutrition data. And what we know is that when consumers are equipped with more information about their health and what their choices are impacting their health, they tend to make better choices. And so we were very much about empowering the consumer and letting them find food that meets their needs, rather than a top-down system, which is often coming out of healthcare, which was, okay, you have a nutrition prescription, here's your piece of paper, and you should eat this at 6 o'clock. The consumer now has so much choice and convenience in other industries like retail and banking and travel. So when it came to nutrition, it was like, okay, yeah, I want to eat this my way, but I still want to be able to have flexibility within a framework.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Particularly, and I want to delve into fitness now around this, but as the listeners know, for a number of years, I've told people that the best, our greatest products and service delivery solutions haven't been invented yet. So when we think about fitness in general, the trend toward a more holistic health orientation using technology, as being a significant trend that I've talked about for a number of years. Talk to me about your fitness partners and what you see and how brands can coalesce your solution with their business model to create a better user experience and more value in helping people reach their health goals, as they're pursuing, better fitness, better health in general.
So I think so during the pandemic, we actually led a survey out of New York, working with a New York firm. And what we found was 67% of consumers working with a trainer or as part of a club wanted evidence-based nutrition services because they had signed up for this, to be part of this community, to be part of this establishment, and to invest in their fitness with the idea that they were going to achieve certain health goals. So in the consumer's mind, 67% of them said, this is what I want, evidence-based, I want it easy, I want to know that it's approved by a registered dietitian or qualified health professional. And yet when we asked, the follow-up question was, okay, how many of you are getting this? It was actually just over 13%. So I think in any industry, you would say, okay, that's a big gap in the market, but also represents an opportunity. And when we think about the pandemic, and again, this emphasis around health, and I think a lot of us have been thinking and talking about it and feeling it, the consumer has that much more of an expectation. And maybe they're not just looking at short-term weight loss or quick fix solutions, but they're actually saying, I want to invest. Now, that's one side of it. The other side of it is that we see time and time again from meta study after meta study, and the New York Times did a great review of this last July, which was, you need to exercise 320 minutes on average a week to actually lose weight from your physical activity. Now, there are, and I could spend the rest of the afternoon talking about all the benefits of exercise, from mental health to your brain development to stress. But we all know that abs start in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so most people don't have over 6 hours a week to exercise. It's not necessarily conducive to their lifestyle. And so you need to combine both, right? You're trying to make changes in body composition, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to reduce medical markers like A1C if you're, pre-diabetes, like 86 million Americans.
Yep.
You need to combine both. So the more that the management and the leadership within the industry recognize that's with not only what consumers want and what they're asking for and what they're saying they will pay for, and what we know, which is they're going, retention is everything in the fitness space, that they need to see results, and they need to see results in a consistent and relatively predictive manner. And so with our clubs, we are in healthcare. Like, we support over 500 organizations, from health systems to wellness centers to NFL sports teams. It turns out that there's a lot of people that are looking to improve and optimize their nutrition, and have, want the convenience and busy lives. But there's also, in the gym space and in the fitness across, the various segments from boutique to big box, et cetera, is there's this realization that, one, we need to increase non-dues revenue. Two, it's a very competitive landscape post, shutdowns and as we navigate through the pandemic, that how are you going to differentiate from the option down the street? And we're seeing a lot of partners offering premium memberships that include nutrition, and charging for that and earning a great return. So, and then we provide different, with our partnerships, we have awesome registered dietitians that will, they have presentations for education and community. And a lot of times someone just wants to post a question, talk about it, and they don't necessarily want to drive across town and sit down with a professional for an hour. They want something quick, they want something convenient, and they want it personalized.
That is so true, and that is what consumers want today. And I can only I would imagine, just in speaking with you right now about this and having thought about it before our chat, this has to be a large percentage of the marketplace. I mean, I would imagine that the demand of what your platform does, having looked at it, would be something that would be quite appealing to people that were a member of a fitness facility on multiple levels. Is that generally? I mean, I know you've been working in the fitness channel for a while now, but what has been your experience around that with some of your clients, if you can share it?
Sure. I mean, some of the things we're really proud of is we have as many 65-year-olds as 25-year-olds on the platform. So if you think about like the senior community with silver sneakers and a lot of Medicare Advantage plans offering, silver sneakers is one of the most popular benefits.
Yep.
And so you could imagine EatLove being a complement on the nutrition side to access to fitness facilities. The idea that we had one member say to us, there's something special about being able to plan for the week, order your groceries, go work out, and then have the food be on your doorstep when you get home.
Right.
And I think that this idea of like, they can pick it up because the facility is right next to, their local grocer. So I think that's part of it. I think that the webinars, in addition to the platform, have had great engagement, not just by current users, but also as a sales funnel, and being able to expose people to even know. It always amazes me that you could have like something about the personalized nutrition services that are being offered everywhere, all over the physical, in club information. And yet you still may have 70% of the people who sign up for the webinar going, wow, this is being offered.
Yeah.
So being that connection, and I think that's just, again, that really broad meta trend is that we see this conversion between the physical and the digital. And this hybrid that if you are a fitness owner, if you're running a fitness studio, you need to connect with your members, not just in the physical, but also when they're grocery shopping, they're seeing your brand, they're seeing your logo, and they're thinking, okay, Bryan cares about what and is invested in all of me and actually making sure that I achieve my goals. So I am going to feel closer to that brand and feel like, okay, I can still be me within that broader context as being a member of that facility.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Monique. So in general, where do you see the future? Obviously, personalization, convenience, omni-channel, all the things that we know, and looking at trends. When it comes to nutrition and food, and you mentioned sustainability, as well. What do you see? Where do you see the future of this going? What are your thoughts on that?
So I see the continuation of several of these trends only magnifying where personalization is table stakes.
Yep.
I don't think it's something that, in fact, I would go so far as to say that if you're not providing nutrition services as a fitness studio at scale, because what has been typically, or at least what I see with some of our partners, what they've tried previously, is that they'll hire one individual and then they may have 3% of their population actually use that individual because they're there to work out and like it's just very expensive and they're adding overhead. And so they may try that for a few months and then they'll kind of go, okay, this didn't work. Or they'll use a non-evidence-based solution where it's very much like only you're going to lose 15 pounds in 1 week,
Right.
which is not healthy or, for your member base. So I think investing and looking at the longer term and saying, this is who we are as far as our brand identity. This is how we're really going to invest our time and resources through a partnership, and to be much more of thinking about themselves as curators of the best solution. Because one of the big advantages I see from the fitness industry is that they have for the most part, a physical location that members of the community are coming to multiple times a week.
Right.
So you have that one-on-one connection and ability to say hello and see how everyone is and check in. Having that extend to then when they are at home and providing the services that they need to have them achieve their overall goals is a great jumping off point. They just haven't been able to do that because it's always been about hiring more people.
Right.
We are experiencing a global, not just in the United States, labor shortage, right? We have partners in Europe and Australia. We hear all the same things. And we see with technology and automation that you can still have that nutrition professional, but it becomes a one-to-many application.
Yep.
Rather than just having one-to-one, which is not really scalable. There is only one registered dietitian per 5,000 Americans. We need, as a country, when you have 86 million pre-diabetics, people with pre-diabetes, you have to find other solutions. And I think what we're excited about is to be able to provide that in a way that's already wired into the grocery market and fulfillment.
Yeah.
We are agnostic to diet. We believe fundamentally, as part of our DNA, that food should bring you joy, regardless of your dietary requirements. And we are also agnostic to fulfillment partners. So I look at EatLove as that nutrition passport, where you're like, I'm going to go eat at Chipotle today, or no, I'm going to actually cook a meal, or I just feel like eating a Kind bar. How do we wrap ourselves around the entire individual and putting them at the center? I think by doing that is how you build loyalty, retention, and sustainability within your business model.
That's a great answer, Monique. So being a final question, and thanks again for spending time today. For our listeners, my final question, and I went into your background in investment banking. You have a very impressive background, but as a founder, are there any pearls of wisdom you can share with our listeners, lessons that they need to listen to, because you started this company from scratch? What are some pearls that you might be willing to share with the folks that listen in here?
I think, as I said a little bit, alluded to earlier, I'm attracted to people who want to solve the hard problems. And I think that finding something that moves you and that you wake up and you don't see it as work, but you actually see it as purpose is something that's really important to me. And even when I was working in banking and I was doing that, I still worked with companies that I believed in. I still was perfecting my craft and being a lifelong learner. And I think taking humility to the table, because of course, we always say we're probably about 50% right. We just don't know yet what 50% that is. So this idea of like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get it out there and be ready to innovate and be ready to pivot. Number one. Number two, I would also say, being that EatLove is a digital health company, that it takes 10 years, especially when you're looking at an industry that's only second regulated to the nuclear industry, right? Like, so healthcare is a highly regulated, complicated beast. And I think recognizing that it's going to take you 10 years to build something meaningful is important. And I think another reason why you want to do something that you feel purpose, so much about purpose, is that your family and your friends are going to be there with you in the highs and the lows. And I think about like my own children, where I have three very well-established athletes and different sports and everything. And they've grown up knowing the role of nutrition. And I could swear that I got a couple inches height probably because of EatLove, if we had otherwise not gone down that path. But as an entrepreneur, your whole family, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Bryan, your whole family's involved. Because there are no office hours, there are no Monday through Friday. You're all in, it's go big or go home. And I think just recognizing that and making sure that you as the entrepreneur are thanking them and giving back and supporting them in those moments where you can steal away from that really intense environment, just to say, listen, I wouldn't have gotten here that far if it wasn't for your understanding and support. And I've been extremely fortunate that I've had that. And it's the same with mentors. I mean, surround yourself with people who can help you to navigate, because sometimes you can look back and say, it was actually these 3 decisions that set us up for success. So make sure that who you surround yourself with are people who have your best interest at heart and actually want to see you succeed. And then, follow your gut, but also take on that advice, because otherwise you're going to make the same 10 rookie mistakes.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Purpose, patience, and people. That's what I would submit. Yeah. So, well, Monique, thank you so much. Again, listeners, in the show notes, as I mentioned, we'll have more details, but been very impressed in meeting with you and speaking with you a few times over the last several months. You're a delight and a real breath of fresh air, a very successful lady, and really love the product. And I know we'll be hearing a lot more from you and your brand in the coming years ahead in our industry. So thanks for spending time today.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. It's really nice to chat with you, and you've been a source of great advice to me. So again, really appreciate the chance to talk.
Hello, listeners. This is Bryan O'Rourke, and thanks so much for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. The podcast is made possible by the Fitness Industry Technology Council, a consortium of global brands working together to enhance the adoption of technologies in the fitness space. Our company, Videri Ventures, which is invested in Vertimax, Montezuma, Gold's Gym, Houston, Texas, and Fitness 24/7 Thailand, also underwrites the podcast, along with our service companies, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and others. Please feel free to share this podcast with your colleagues. And if I can be of any assistance to you, don't hesitate to reach out, bryanko'rourke@gmail.com, or find me on any of the major social networks. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.